Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the TANCHJIM ONE, the standard version, and the TANCHJIM ONE, the DSP version. The boxes externally are exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference. The only way you can distinguish one from the other, one says just one over there, the other one says one DSP. Otherwise, they are exactly the same. I'm going to open up the boxes so you can see what it brings. It again brings the same exact accessories, so really pointless in checking out both of them. So this is it brings a little carrying pouch. Okay, sorry, brings a little bit, it brings a little cloth carrying pouch, brings a nice assortment of tips, the same sort of tips that we saw already in the Tanya. The cable is this cable here. Okay, not a bad cable, not a great cable. I mean, we're talking $20, roughly $20 for the one, and roughly 25, 26 for the DSP version. So we're not going to be expecting the world here. All right. I will bring your attention to one little detail with regards to the cable straight away and the actual IEMs, which is if you are going to swap the cable like I have done, pay attention to the terminations of the positive and negative terminal, because as if you notice here carefully, I'm trying to see if I can get this to focus, but if you notice carefully here, hold on, let me see if I can maybe zoom in. If you notice carefully, on the left hand side, the unit, the negative and positive terminals, look where they are. On the right side, they are inverted, okay, and accordingly the cable the same thing. So the cables are, this cable is bespoke to be used with this, unless you turn it around when you actually introduce it, if you're going to be using it with another IEM. So pay attention to that. What this means as well is if you are going to be using an external cable like I did, you have to be paying attention to how you actually put in the cable. All right. Okay. I'm using a vocal cable, a pin-on vocal cable. The actual IEM itself, as you can see, is a little bullet style IEM. It's fine. I mean, its shape, obviously being bullet style, as always is the case, it will be very much dependent on you obviously having a correct tip to make sure that it is not gonna fall off. But it's fine. It's okay. It's one of those bullet styles is one of those things you either like or you don't like. For me, particularly, doesn't bug me. So I guess you could say that I like it. As I was saying, I'm using the pin-on vocal cable. I've had the accessories actually changed out on it, but that's just me. 1 second here, trying to untangle here a little bit what I did. That's it. That's the cable. Again, the IEMs. The difference between them and the Zero is that it's got this rear metal capsule. Let's put it that way. I've actually got a Zero here. Where is it? The zero. Here we go. So, okay, the zeros you can see there. Wow. All right, you can see the difference there. All right. I actually thought that the driver would be similar, but then upon closer inspection, and if you actually look, carefully here at the driver, let me see if I can show you this a little bit better. Okay, if you look at the driver carefully, this is not easy, definitely not easy. See if like this we can see it better. If we look at the driver carefully, you can see the holes that the Zero driver has. Okay, and if you look at the One driver, you can see that the holes are smaller and more in number. So I'm assuming that the drivers are not the same. I am assuming that the One has an updated version of the driver that's being used, or that was used initially in the Zero, and probably this driver of the One is similar overall to the driver that we find in the TANCHJIM Kara, the 1+4 hybrid, than necessarily the driver found in the Zero. Okay, so let me just wind this up here, and so I can start explaining everything better here for you guys. All right, so there we go. Now, let's first of all, let me set the stage here on what I have here, what I don't have here, so that I can better then afterwards explain everything. Stay there. Alright. I've got here TANCHJIM 0, TANCHJIM 1, got here the SIMGOT EW100, and I've got here the True 2. I could have brought out much more, but these three are here obviously for specific reasons. This one being the SIMGOT being probably the one of the better ones that you can get under $20. The True 2 because it's the latest from Moondrop. The 0 because it made sense to compare it with the 1. On the top row, what do I have? I've got the 0 DSP, and let me get this out of the way straight away. When I reviewed the DSP, I said that I was having an issue with the volume. Once I raised it, it started distorting, so I got a second pair, and it's exactly the same thing. So I don't know. I'm gonna just throw this out there. I'm assuming that it's not the driver, but it's the DSP little module that they're using that is not of the best quality when paired with this particular driver of the 0, and that's what it happens. I mean, the TANCHJIM, the DSP, the Tanya DSP, I can crank it flat out and I have no issues with volumes, no problems. With regards to the 0, I cannot say the same thing, so the 0 out of the question. I've got here the 1 in the DSP format. I've got here the EW100 in the DSP format, and I've got here the Jew, which is basically the shoe in a DSP format. All right. Let's get the DSP versions out of the way. When I reviewed the DSP versions recently, this one didn't have any chance. I said the DSP from Tanya was worthwhile. I said as well that the Jew was worthwhile, but ultimately I said that I preferred the tonality and the sound that the EW100 in DSP format gave me. Why? It was just a little bit extra cleaner than the Jew, a little bit better bass. I just preferred overall what they've done here. Okay, the DSP version of the TANCHJIM One, it's not much better sonically than the EW100 or than the Jew, so it doesn't really bring that much more to the table than those two do. However, just these notifications are driving me insane here. However, what it does bring to the table is one important factor, which is removable cable. And just on that simple fact that the cable is removable, it is my choice. End of story. Period. Sonically, like I said, if you listen to it with the DSP module and then you listen to it on its own with a proper amp, you can see that there's a lot of potential here on the DSP version that is not ultimately being shown because it's limited by the DSP, but it plays very nicely. It's got a nice rounded sound, very balanced, a little brighter than the standard version without the DSP, but that's down to the way that it's been EQ'd. I'm gonna try and see if I can get the graphs done for them for all the DSPs and also for the one in DSP format, and then I can show you that it's a little bit brighter, but again, like I said, I'm sure it's down to the way that the DSP has been equalized. But the fact that you can at a very simple, take this out, throw in another cable, and I've actually measured this set and compared it to that set, and it's exactly the same. There's no difference. You can then, drastically improve its performance by connecting it to a more serious amp DAC setup. Just that on its own is enough for me to say that this is definitely the one that makes sense. The TANCHJIM One in the DSP format is, for me, the version out of all the DSPs, and when I compare it even with the standard one, it is worth the price difference, and it's the one I would get. Okay, it's as simple as that. The fact that I can use it with the DSP if I'm out and about and I don't want to have my portable, I don't want to take anything portable huge with me or something, that's fine. And then when I get home, I can disconnect it and connect it up with a proper amp setup. That's worth a lot of money for me. It's a winner there. Period. As compared then to, or comparing now the normal versions and then comparing them with the True and with the SIM-GOT. Compared to the Zero, the difference is monumental. And is monumental in what aspect? Well, this didn't have bad bass, considering that the bass was pretty flat. It was a pretty neutral bass, and and it had decent mids, not a lot of extension, but it was good. It was actually quite good. It had the peculiarity of being able to scale very well. You could give it power and it would come alive quite nicely. And there's a number of people out there, and reviewers inclusive, that are very big fans of the Zero. Ultimately, if you take in consideration that this is like a $14 or $15 IEM and it's able to perform so well with very little done to it, is actually quite commendable. The problem, the cable was fixed, so you were stuck with what the cable, what the cable was providing, and ultimately the cable would to a certain extent be the limiting factor. The SIM-GOT, as we all know, is kind of like the poster child of recently. It's a very nicely tuned IEM. It's got a great driver, very nicely tuned, the Harman tune with that little SIM-GOT house sound style also given there, super detailed. It can at times be overly detailed, if there's such a thing as overly detailed, in the sense that it can, in the pursuit of that extra detail retrieval, that extra space, it can sound a little bit harsh. Well, harsh is not the correct word, but it can sound a little bit pushed, a little bit on the limit. But otherwise, that aside, and if you don't really demand the world out of it because it plays really loud with not a lot of power, it is a very nice sounding IEM. Fits beautifully. One of the best fitting ones out of everyone that's over here. Fits beautifully, so you can't really go wrong with the SIM-GOT. The Shoe came and gave us, the Shoe 2 rather, came and gave us a totally different approach than the original Shoe to start with. But when compared to the SIM-GOT, it gives us a more V signature with a nice sub-bass focus. You notice that the mid-bass slam is not as good as the mid-bass slam over here. The mid-bass slam here is quicker, it's more incisive, it's cleaner, and the extension as well is nothing, not on the same level as the extension of the SIM-GOT. Having said that, it gives a slightly more warmer tonality, which can be satisfying and what people want, some people want. But I think out of the two, it's difficult to say which is the winner, which is the loser. They both are very good, but personally I think I would see myself maybe going ultimately more times towards the SIM-GOT than I would towards the Shoe 2. But you can't really go wrong between the two of them. I think the biggest differentiating factor between these two is the fact that this one is technically more capable. This one's got better detail retrieval, better sound stage, in terms of giving you that perception of size, better imaging. That's where you will see the biggest difference. This one, the technicalities are not as good, but it does have a nice sub-bass presentation. It gives a nice sense of size to the sound in terms of fullness. It makes it sound big, but at the cost of other things as well. The One, where does the One stand in the middle of all this? Very simple. The One ultimately doesn't have the detailed retrieval of that, but what it does have is a detailed retrieval which is much more natural and much more, I would say, pleasant ultimately than there. It doesn't have the last bit of slam in the bass as you get on the SIM-GOT, but it's got more slam than the Shoe 2. It's got way better detailed retrieval than the Shoe. It's kind of I would say that, jumping ahead a little bit, but I would say the One is kind of a polished version of what either one of these two is. And what do I mean by that? It's taken it's compared to the Shoe first, it's brought down that V-ness of the signature of the Shoe. Everything stays within more or less an 8 dB barrier, and given us a sound which is not as sub-bass focused, but it's still got decent enough ramble. It's got a little way more mid-bass, and you feel it. It's a quick. It's not so. The mid-bass there sometimes can come across as being a little bit fluffy. Okay, while here no, it's definitely much more cleaner, much more impactful, much more slam, with a very, very good presentation of the mids, with nothing particularly coming forward or anything of the sort, and very nice extension up top in a very mild, very subdued, very, very smooth fashion. So overall, it is a more competent shoe without a doubt, in my opinion. Please note, and with the music that I listen to, it's just nicer sounding. It's more pleasant sounding. The tonality is more correct. You know, you listen to things like Portals from Laura Minch, fantastic. I mean, the shoe does it well. I always say shoe, but you guys know that I mean shoe too. The shoe too does it well, but this just does it better because the mids and the upper mids and the treble have just been tuned in a more flowy manner. It flows the same way as you in the bass. You either have that bass which just kind of flows into the mids and then flattens out before having the pin again, or then you have that bass which just drops quickly, tucks in quickly and then continues from there on, but misses out a little bit on that area there between 150 and 400 hertz, makes that area sound maybe sometimes a little bit way too lean and losing out on the mid bass impact. The mids, the upper mids and treble have been done in a very flowy manner. There's no abrupt pin again and then a plateau and then a drop or then another peak, nothing. Everything just flows very nicely, and that's, I think, is the magic above all of the One, as compared to the SimGot. It is also polished up on the idea of the SimGot, so it ultimately doesn't have the last little bit of detail as the SimGot, I'll say that, but what it does have is a more natural detail retrieval, a more natural soundstage, a more natural imaging capability. It just sounds more realistic, and above all, not as strained. I never got the sense of this, even when I cranked the volume, because it can take quite a bit of power, mind you. I never got a feeling that, okay, I can't go a little bit louder because I've kind of reached the limit there. No, while on the SimGot, it's loud as it is, and then you crank it up and it gets louder, but you straight away feel like it's on the limits. This never gives you that perception. It always gives you the perception that it's got plenty of room still, plenty of headroom, and that for me is again a plus. And then the fact as well that you can get the version straight away, which is what I would do with the DSP cable. You know what, guys? I mean, this is, however much I really like the SimGot and however much I really like the shoe, the TANCHJIM One is for me the most sensible choice. If you haven't got any one of them, this is the one that makes the most sense, in the DSP format especially. If you do have the shoe, or if you do have the SimGot, is it absolutely imperative that you get this? Perhaps not. Perhaps just wait for the opportunity of picking it up on a sale or something, and then yes, maybe then it would make sense as a complement. Overall, yeah, I do find the sound to be slightly more towards my preference as opposed to this or this. But I like the SimGot a lot. I like it. I really do. I really like this the shoe too as well. Just that this just ticks the right boxes just a little bit in a more intense manner. That's all. And that's it, guys. I mean, there's really not much more I can say about the TANCHJIM One. It's a nice solid IM. I mean, at the price that it costs, there's nothing that you can really point as a negative. And even when I'm talking here about the technicalities and this and that, come on, people, let's remember this is like sub $20. What are we expecting now? Monarch Mark III kind of level, kind of performance, or is that what? No. We have to, we have to be realistic for what it is. It is an amazing IM, amazing IM. That's what is needed. It's fun, it's engaging, it plays well, it can take quite a bit of power if you have it, and you can't go wrong. Honestly, you can't go wrong. If you lose them, you're not gonna cry and throw a tantrum, I hope. So that's it. Anyway, guys, I'll show you now the graphs quickly, at least of these lower four bottom ones, and we'll wrap it up. Okay, you take care now. Bye bye. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the TANCHJIM One and TANCHJIM One DSP. Anyway, let me just quickly show you then what I have here for us. This is the graph of the TANCHJIM One, and as you can see, I mean, I personally, this is what I like. Nice mid, nice bass, nice mid bass. A little bit of a sub bass roll off, but nice bass. The bass overall is very nice, very progressive. Pinna gain, I mean, peaks at 3, maintains itself a little bit plateaued there, and then starts dropping off nicely, and some extension past 10k. And what you see here is what you hear. You hear a nice full bass. It's got body to it, and then very smooth mids. Everything is just very nicely presented. Okay. Compared straight away with its predecessor, the Zero, which is the one I've just put on now, you can see that there is kind of the mids, upper mids, and treble are kind of the same thing. They just brought it down. They brought the energy down, okay? Because comparatively in its stock format, I mean, there is a big difference here between the bass and the mids, and then they've given it a little bit more bass below 200 hertz, and because they've balanced it out, the one as compared to the Zero, overall you just have a nicer sound. I'm not taking anything away from the Zero. The Zero, you know, was fine again for a $14 or $15 IEM. It was fine. It played very nicely. It scaled well, but you never got the feeling that it had as much treble as you think that it might have. You know, it always didn't feel as extended as you would think, and also the technicalities weren't as well as evident as what you would think as well from here. It had a nicely laid back presentation in terms of the technicalities, capable enough and so on, but not what this would lead you to believe. Let's put it that way, okay? As compared to the one, for me, in my opinion, with what I hear, the one is just better. Period. It's just a better IEM. It's the driver. Not only has the tuning been changed, obviously, but I'm sure the driver has improved in its quality, because everything just feels more. It doesn't feel as much on the edge as sometimes you can get that perception on the Zero. Although the Zero does take well to power, it does. It actually comes alive when you give it power. It comes across as having a lot more bass than what the Graph would also lead you to believe. But it can sound. Ultimately, when you really are, it can sound a little bit edgy, but a little bit like, okay, I'm on my limits now, don't push me too much more. All right. I didn't get that sensation on the one ever, and I really, trust me when I say that, I really gave it some volume. I really pushed it to see what it could do, and it maintained itself pretty composed. As compared to the Moondrop Shoe 2, which I've just placed up now, you can see a lot of similarities as well. A lot of similarities between 80 and about 2K. They are very much the same. It's just then the way that the rest of the mids, upper mids, and treble are done as compared to the one that just changed the whole dynamics. You don't feel it being as bright and as detailed as you would think because of that little extra way the bass is done back here. It just transports itself more than the one does, in terms of it kind of somehow affects more what you have up top. I'm guessing as well that's why they also gave it this extra boost. But overall, you listen to one and you listen to the other, they both all sound very well. But what you do notice when you start being a little bit more nitpicky and choosing your songs carefully is that the one is more capable, it just does everything with a little bit more class, with a little bit more smoothness. Everything is more suave, more, it's done with less effort, if that's ultimately a good word to use here. And the shoe does come across, the shoe too, sorry, does come across as being more V-shaped and not as capable in the technical department. And finally, compared here with the SimGot, again, I mean, the Graph speaks for itself, I think. I mean, a little bit less mid bass in terms of the fullness of that mid bass, but the SimGot has got how can I say, the SimGot, the impact is harder, but it just sounds a little bit more lean is not the word, clinical is not the word. I'm trying to find the good. because you have more information up top. I think that's a better way for me to explain it. Because you have more information up top in the EW100 as compared to the one, and it's not that it's a big difference. It just sounds a little bit more detailed up top, more open. You get a bass which is slightly more cleaner, slightly more impactful, but at the same time it loses a little bit in its tonality. Okay, it sounds I would say almost slightly more artificial. But guys, trust me, this is me like really pushing it and trying to find faults where I think the majority of you out there won't even pick up on it. You won't even notice. The thing which you will notice by listening to the EW and then listening to the one is that one sounds a little bit more brighter, okay, and the other one sounds a little bit more warmer. One sounds a little bit, and I'm talking SIMGOT brighter, one more warmer, and the one sounds more effortless in the way that it carries on playing and the way that it scales when you push up the volume, while the SIMGOT does sound or does reach a point where it sounds like it's on the edge much quicker. That's I think one thing that's noticeable very well is that you start pushing the volume on the SIMGOT and it feels like it reaches its limits quicker. It gets to that point where okay, now I've had enough, and that's it, guys. I mean, what more can I really say? I mean, it's the one is a fantastically tuned IEM. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting something like this, especially because as of late, not all of the TANCHJIM products have been amazing. I mean, we had the Oxygen fine, we had the 12021 fine, and then we had the TANCHJIM, which was good, and then it was just all over the place. The only real decent IM from them that's come out, has been, as of lately, has been the Kara, okay, which was such a long time waiting for it, but at least it is a very nicely tuned IM, and it's one of the IMs I recommend. And now finally we have a budget single DD, which is again nicely tuned. Again, let me just repeat this, I don't offend anybody. I'm not saying that the Zero wasn't capable. The Zero was capable, but they should have launched this straight away. TANCHJIM should have launched this straight away. They should have done this straight away, and they would have had way more success, way more sales, I guaranteed. I mean, the HOLA was a waste of time. I mean, even the HOLA base comparatively to this, the HOLA base, I can just put the graph quickly here. The HOLA base compared to the TANCHJIM, and I mean, I didn't dislike the HOLA base. I actually liked it, and I thought it was an IM that had quite a bit of potential. But the HOLA base compared to this, I mean, it's yeah, whatever. I struggle sometimes, when I have to say these things, because I don't want to come across as I'm being hard or anything. But this is the HOLA bass, okay? A big improvement in the bass as compared to the original HOLA. It's basically kind of sounds like it's got the same bass as the one, but then somehow the rest of the frequency up top here, it's not that it's badly done, but when you listen to it on its own, yeah, it's okay, it's fine, it's a harmony kind of tune, it's decently engaging. But when you have one and the other next to each other and you're swapping over, you say to yourself, why didn't they just do the one straight away? Well, why? Why did they waste time with IMs that kind of just make people then think twice about going into the brand, when they can just once and for all just launch an IM that plays well and get the sales going and get people motivated for the next one that will come out, instead of kind of being hesitant, because that's the reality. People, I think a lot of people, and I'm not the only one that says this, although I'm a fan, but I know a lot of people that would be TANCHJIM fans have as of late maybe not gone down that road, because every time they've launched a product, it's been met with such disappointment, because they are a brand that have created such nice products and have such a reputation, that people are kind of, okay, whatever, they've launched another one, yeah, okay, let's see. Anyway, the truth is this: TANCHJIM One, it's a good IM, it's worthwhile, doesn't break the bank, at least for a lot of us, it won't break the bank, and I think it's worthwhile. If you're looking for something on the cheaper side, I think it's definitely worthwhile. You take care now. As always, remember, like and subscribe. Take care, bye bye.